Today we're going to talk about agents of socialization, specifically family, the media, and schools. And then later we're going to talk about peers, churches, political and community leaders. Learning, culture, and socialization occur through agents of socialization, the individuals, organizations, and institutions that facilitate the acquisition of political views. Amongst the most important agents of socialization are the family, the media, schools, churches, and then peers and political and community leaders, which we'll talk about tomorrow. Our political views are also shaped by who we are. Our race, ethnicity, gender, and age all influence how we become socialized to political and community life. So take a second and think about those factors in relation to you. Family influences on activism and attitudes. Families take one of the most active roles in socializing us to politics and influencing our political views and behaviors. We learn whether our family members value civic activism by observing their actions and listening to their views. By example, parents show children whether community matters. The children of political activists are taught to be engaged citizens. They may see their parents attend city council meetings, host Democratic or Republican club meetings in their home, or help local candidates up for office by volunteering to campaign door to door on a weekend afternoon. Other parents may teach different forms of political engagement. Some young children might attend protests or demonstrations with their parents. Others might learn to boycott a particular product for political reasons. When political activists discuss their own involvement, they often observe that politics is in my blood. In reality, political activism is passed from one generation to the next through example. In other homes, however, parents are not involved in politics or their communities. They may lack the time to participate in political activities, or they may fail to see the value of doing so. That means they have a low level of efficacy. They may have a negative opinion of people who participate in politics, constantly making such comments as all politicians are corrupt, they're just in it for themselves, or it's all about the ego. Such opinions convey to children that politics is not valued and may be in fact frowned upon. A parent's political apathy need not necessarily sour a son or daughter on politics or civic engagement permanently, however. Instead, first-generation activists often point to external influences such as school, the media, friends, and public policies, any of which can cause one to become involved in civic life regardless of family attitudes. Our families influence not only whether or not we are civically active participants in the political process, but also what we believe. While parents or older siblings may discuss specific issues or policies, their attitudes and outlook also shape children's general political attitudes and ideology. Children absorb their parents' beliefs. Whether their parents think the government should have a larger or smaller role in people's lives, whether they value equality between the sexes and the races, whether they consider people in government to be trustworthy, and even specific opinions that they have about political leaders. In fact, we can see evidence of how strongly parents' views are transmitted to their children in one of the best predictors of the results of presidential elections. Each year, the Weekly Reader, a current events magazine that many school districts subscribe to, conduct a non-randomized poll of its readers. Since 1956, the 1st through 12th grade student poll has correctly predicted the outcome of every single presidential election. Children know for whom their parents will vote and mimic that behavior in their responses to the polls. All right, so let's talk about the media. An almost ever-present fixture in the lives of young Americans today, the media contribute to the political socialization of Americans in many ways. Television, radio, the internet, and various forms of electronic entertainment and print media help shape Americans' political perspectives. First, the media, especially television, help shape societal norms. The media impart norms and values on children's shows such as Sesame Street, Barney, and Dora the Explorer, which teach about racial diversity and tolerance. For example, Barney's friends include children with and without disabilities. These shows and others reflect changing societal standards and values. The media also reinforce core democratic values. Television programs such as Dancing with the Stars, American Idol, and The Biggest Loser incorporate the principle of voting through telephone, online, or texted votes. Viewers decide which contestant stays or goes. Second, the media also help determine the national agenda, whether they are covering tensions in the Middle East, sex abuse scandals, global climate change, or congressional policy debates. The media focus the attention of the American public. This attention may then have spillover effects as people demand action on a policy issue. It's almost like the media are gatekeepers, and that's an actual term, because we kind of know what to follow because of them and what they allow through the gates. Third, the media educate the public public about policy issues. Local and national news programs, news magazine shows, and even comedies such as when the Colbert Report and the Daily Show were on. Yes, they are actually comedies, not news programs. However, if you can understand them and laugh at the jokes, then you understand the politics behind them. Finally, the media, particularly television, can skew people's perception of public policy priorities and challenges. The oft quoted saying, "If it bleeds, it leads," demonstrates the attention that most local news stations focus on violence. If you ever paid attention to the news, that's exactly how the news opens up every day, unfortunately. Although crime rates have dropped since the 1970s, the reporting of crime, particularly violent crime, on nightly news broadcasts has increased. Even national news broadcasts and talk shows fall prey to the tendency to emphasize visual news, fires, floods, auto accidents, and plane crashes. Although these stories are important to those involved, they have very little long-term effect on society as a whole. But because they pique viewer interest more effectively than, say, a debate in Washington or in a state capitol, news programs devote more time to them. Internet news sources also cover these traumatic events, but the sheer number of internet news sites and blogs makes it more likely that at least some of them will also cover more important news. And people interested in political events and debates can find internet news sources that cover such events and issues. All right, so lastly, let's talk about schools. As early as kindergarten, children in the United States are socialized to believe in democracy and express patriotism. Schools socialize children to the concept of democracy by making the idea tangible for them. On election day, children might vote for their favorite snack and wait for the results at the end of the day. We will be voting a lot via Google Forms this year, which is symptomatic, of our democracy and also symbolizes the fact that I'd like you to be involved in what's going on. Children are also taught patriotism as they recite the Pledge of Allegiance every day, sing patriotic songs, and learn that the founding fathers, especially George Washington and other American heroes, including Abraham Lincoln, Martin Luther King, and John Kennedy, all influenced society. These people are known as great men in society, and for a reason. Increasingly, however, the curriculum includes contributions by women and racial and ethnic minorities, including African Americans and Latinos. So you think about our curriculum. How does that socialize us with the inclusion of those things or the exclusion of those things? Education also plays a pivotal role in determining who will participate in the political process. Research indicates that higher levels of education are associated with higher levels of political activism, which is passed through generations. So make sure you know the more educated you are, the more likely you are to be active, and the more educated you are, the more likely you are to vote.